What's later? Well, okay. Well, very good morning, guys. Fine. So last day, we have just been talked about sessions, right? Yeah, we are discussing about sessions. But I don't have time. Um, yeah, this is where we stopped in the previous session. What we've been talking, session values can be stored in three different locations. What is the first one? In proc, state server, SQL server. In proc is the default mode. In proc is the default mode. So in this case, where exactly the values are stored? The values are stored in the worker process memory. The values are stored in the worker process memory. And I explained to you what is the worker process. What is it? All our applications will be running under the IAS. Whenever we create a site under the IAS, it is going to run for you under an application pool. So what's an application pool? An application pool is a container of one or more applications, one or more web applications. Okay. So in every application pool will be having a worker process. Every application pool will be having a worker process. So this is what I shown you. Application pools. These are the applications, and there's a worker process. And this worker process is responsible to run the applications. And guys, remember, when your worker process is going to run your application, when a worker process runs the applications to you, all the values of the application will be stored under the worker process memory. Actually, all these values are stored in the worker process memory. So what is the worker process memory? Worker process is nothing but an exe file, w3wp.exe. It runs. It will be running for you in the background. When you run the web application, who runs worker process and has some memory, and inside the memory, the web application will be storing all the values, session values. Okay. Second option, what I said. What is the problem in this? Tomorrow, if at all you recycle the worker process, all the session values are lost. And to resolve it, I shown you the second option. What is state server? This is a software, and the software is installed on your machine. The software is installed on your machine when you install SQL Server on your machine. The software is installed on your machine when you install SQL Server on your machine. When you install the Visual Studio on machine or the .NET framework on your machine. Either you install Visual Studio or you install the .NET framework. This software is already also installed on your machine. Are you clear? And now, what happens when you install this? Automatically, there is some memory. It is a software for storing the session values. So what we can do, without storing the values in the application memory, we can store this in the state server software. And if at all you want to use it, what is the first step, guys? You're required to start it. You're required to go to services window, start it. Second step, you just required to write this in the web.config. What is it? Session mode. Mode is equals to second, third. State connections thing is equals to TCP/IP is the protocol. Server name, there is a localhost. The port number on which it runs is 42424. So once you specify now, you're targeting the state server and all the values are stored in the state server. Okay, say localhost refers to the machine name of name And if ASP.NET State Server software is running on a remote machine, then write the machine name, write that machine name in place of localhost. And 42424 is a port number on which ASP.NET State Server software will be running. This is where we stopped it. Okay. Third option. What is the third option? SQL Server. So what is this SQL Server? Guys, in this case, we are storing the session values directly on the database itself. We are storing the session values on the database. When you store the session values on the database, we have two options again. What are the two options? Option number one is persistent storage, persistent and temporary. Persistent and temporary. What is it temporary? Temporary in the sense, just like see, when I start the state server yesterday, all the values are lost now. If you store in a temporary basis on SQL Server, if SQL Server is restarted, automatically all the session values are destroyed. All the session values are destroyed. If I say persisted, what is persisted? Even if SQL Server restarted also, even if SQL Server is restarted also, the session values will be restored again. The values are saved. Array, you create a table in database and store. If you shut down the machine, data is not lost now. The same thing happens for you if you go for temporary means start the server, all the data is lost, just like state server. Okay, so that is the two options we have. But if you want to use this, we have a challenge now. What is the challenge? First, we need to create a database. We need to create a set of tables. And to manage the data in the tables, we require to create a set of procedures. All this process is there. Are you clear? So what is it? We require to create a database. We need to create a set of tables. And also we need to create a set of procedures to manage all this data. Okay, all these things should be done by you. Okay, guys, I have two databases of my own on my machine. I have two databases of my own on my machine. What are the two? Northwind. So now you need one new database to store all the session data. But that is time taking, creating a database, creating the tables, creating the procedures, all this is a time taking process. So without that problem, we are provided with a tool. ASP NET RegSQL. ASP NET _RegSQL. It's a tool, command line tool that comes to you along with your Visual Studio. If you run that tool, that tool will create the database, tables, and procedures to you automatically. Did you understand or not? Who will do that? The tool will do that. What it will create you? The database, the tables, the procedures, all these things are automatically created for you by the tool. So what you're required to do is only run the tool. The remaining things, it will take care. Are you guys clear what I said? Yes or not? So like this, we have two different options that are available. Like this, first we require to run the tool and create the database. So let us do that, guys. Let us run the tool and create the database first. Database, tables, everything. How to run? Open your developer command prompt. You know developer command prompt now? Open it in the administrator mode. Don't forget, open it in the administrator mode. Right click, run as administrator. Okay. So now this is my developer command prompt. Just a minute, guys. Just a minute. My screen is cut off. It's fine here. Here it is cut off. Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. Open this in the administrator mode. Okay. Run as administrator. Fine. What next? The next thing is you need to run that tool now. Okay. What tool? ASP NET underscore reg SQL. That is the tool. ASP NET underscore reg SQL. This tool basically it's a command line tool. All the input should be given in the command format in the form of some commands. So if you give a minus question mark, it will give you help of all the commands, all the attributes, not commands, all the attributes. Let's see. Watch, guys. When you're running that, you're required to provide the details. First one, connection details has to be provided. How to give the connection details? Minus S, write your server name. Minus U, user ID. Minus P, password. If you want Windows authentication, without minus U, minus P, minus E. Are you clear? Okay. So how to run the tool, watch. ASP NET underscore reg SQL space minus S, capital S, server name, your server name. And server name is, all of you learned SQL server. When you open the SQL server, it will tell you what is your server name. What is my server name? That is only my server name. Your machine name is only your server name, server. Next, minus U, user ID, capitals here, S capital, minus S capital, minus U capital, user ID. My user ID is S. Minus P, my password is 123. If you guys are using Windows authentication, then don't write these two, write minus. Are you guys clear? You learned in your SQL class, you learned in your ADO.NET classes. When you're learning ADO.NET, you learned all these things. Okay. So minus S is the server name, user ID, password. Otherwise, minus E, Windows authentication. You're required to give the Windows authentication. Okay. So first, that are the things. Otherwise, you can say minus E and write the complete connection string. How do you write connection string in the file now? Same. Data source is equals to server semicolon. User ID is equals to SC semicolon. Password is equals to 123. Like that also we can write. But okay, try use these attributes. Okay. Yeah, these are the connection attributes. Now with this call down, it will show you application service options, cache dependency options. These are different options. We don't want this. Still call down. What do you have? These are the options we need to use now. What is that? Test and state options. First one, connection options. These are common for everything now. And now you require to use. What is the first command? See? Open the mouth. Read. If I say minus SS add, I'm adding the support for SQL Server mode session state. So minus SS add. Are you clear? Tomorrow, if you want to remove the support, we have minus SS remove. Okay. Next option, SS type. Minus SS type. What is it minus SS type? The minus SS type is to tell whether you want to give temporary support or persistent support. You want temporary or you want persistent. Three options are there: temporary, persistent, custom. Custom or persistent, both are same only. Custom, persistent, both are same. But let me explain you. Suppose if I say T here, what is the meaning? T indicates temporary. What is the read? Session state data is stored in the TempDB database. You know TempDB database? When you install SQL Server on your machine, by default, 4 databases are created. What are the 4? Master, model, TempDB, MSDB. Master, model, TempDB, MSDB. Each database is designed for doing a separate special work to you. TempDB is a database for storing temporary data. Data in a temporary basis means if SQL Server restarted, all the data in the TempDB will be lost. If SQL Server is restarted, all the data in the TempDB database will be lost. That is only saved in a temporary basis. That's what the TempDB is. Is it clear?
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Yeah. Okay. Well, am I audible, guys? Online students, am I audible? Okay. Yeah. So we have two different options here. One is T. T means temporary. In temporary, what happens? Data is stored on TempDB database. Procedures are created on, but this database is not there now. It will create this database for you. It will create this database for you. But if I say persisted, data, procedures, both are stored on ASP state only. Third option is T. Custom is same as P only, but database is your choice. Database is your choice means you can create your own database without creating a database with the name called ASP state. It is going to create you a database with the name what you specify. Are you clearer or not? So that is what temporary, persisted, or whatever it is. You can just use whatever you want in that place now. Okay. So have a look, guys. Right now, see, I don't have any database with the name called ASP state. Okay. Fine. Now, see, I'm using SS type T. SS type T means temporary. I'm just asking for temporary. What next? Database name. This is required only when it is custom. Right now, we are not in custom. Correct? So run this now. So watch it, guys. ASP NET underscore SQL minus F. 1, 2, 3. Minus SS add minus SS type T. Clear? Hit enter. Finished. Started adding, finished. Now come to SQL, refresh. But you look, there are no tables here. There are no tables here. But there are a set of procedures created. See. So many procedures are created to manage all the data. But where are the tables there? The tables will be in the system database, tempdb. These are the tables. So all your data gets stored inside of these tables. Watch, guys. Right now, these tables are empty. That's all. Now, if you don't have SQL Server, you should install it. See, the table is empty. We don't have any values right now. Okay, now. So what is the first step? You're required to run ASP.NET underscore SQL tool and create the required tables and database on the server. Create the required tables and database on the server. This is your first step. This is your first step. Second, what is the second thing? Now come back to your application. And remember, last class we hosted this on IES, na? Yes or not? So don't forget to run this in the administrator mode. Don't forget to run this in the administrator mode. So run this in the administrator mode. Data transfer, right? This is our project. Okay. So now go to web.config. Go to the web.config. And in the web.config, guys, look in the web.config, change this to SQL Server. Yesterday we written state server. Now change this to SQL Server. And yesterday we written state connection string. Same way now SQL connection string. You're required to write the connection string now. So you know how to write the connection string now. So data source is equals to the server name. My server name is server only. User ID, SA. Password, 1, 2, 3. Are you guys clear? Okay. Password is equals to 1, 2, 3. No need database name. No need. No need. Why? Database name is not my name. It is pre-configured name. So that knows the name already. I don't require to specify the database name now. Okay. build it once. And which one using session? 10, right? This is the method. Okay. What did I say? Directly run from the browser. HTTP sound వస్తుంది. ఆ డోర్ క్లోజ్ చేయండి. Localhost, MVC data transfer, home controller, index 10. Yeah. Are you clear? So index 10 and just hit it. Okay, got the results. Refresh. I'm just getting the data. Yes or not? And you guys go to SQL and see your values are stored actually inside of this. So this is your session ID. When is it created? When will it expire? Say 31, 20 minutes means 51. Okay. So it'll store you all the information in this. Where is the data, sir? The data is in encrypted format. You cannot see the data directly. You cannot see the data directly. That is encrypted and stored for you inside of it. Is it clearer or not? That is completely encrypted and saved for you here. Is my point clear, all of you? Yes or not? And now, sir, when this data gets destroyed, if you recycle the worker process, data won't be destroyed. If you recycle the worker process, data won't be destroyed. You can check it out. How to check? Open the task manager. Go to details. W3, which one? My pool and task. Okay. Still, my data is safe. I did not lose the data. So then when will this data be destroyed? It is a temporary now persisted. Then restart SQL server. Restart SQL server, all the data will be lost. How to restart? Go to services. Last class from here only we started state server, remember? The same services. Check for. Started now. It is running. Right click. Restart. When you restart this one, guy, what happens is okay. When you restart this one, see here, values are destroyed. Why is that? Whenever you restart SQL, what happens? TempDB is recreated. TempDB is recreated. Means what it will do is it will when you shut down the server, TempDB is dropped. When you start the server, TempDB is recreated. So dropped and created means old data won't be there now. Tables are there, but there is no data. Now come to your browser and just say refresh. All the data is lost. Are you guys clearer? But if I use persisted, even after restarting server, also my data will be present. Got the point? So we'll see, guys. Watch. Let's go for persisted. Oh, just a minute. Okay, let's go for persisted here. How to first. Sorry. SS remove. I'm removing the support for session state now. Okay. Are you sure? Yes. Finished. Come to database, open the, come to database, check it out. Table is not there first. Table is dropped. Not only the table, refresh, your database is also not there. ASP state database is not there. See. Go to TempDB, tables are not there. Everything is destroyed. Okay, let us recreate. How? What I'm using now? Persisted P. Now, again, started, finished. Come here. Refresh. Tables are created. Oh, sorry. Tables are created here only. Now, where are the tables? Here only. And procedures are also here on. Everything is present on this database. Are you clear? Now come back to your browser again. Okay. Firstly, shell will send a request for home controller index them. It will store you the values in the session. Okay. Now again, shall I restart SQL Server? Even I restart SQL Server, I don't lose my session data now. Right click, restart. Come to your browser, refresh. See there, you did not lose the data. Why? We asked for persistent storage. We asked for a persistent storage. So if you are using persistent storage, what is the name of the database? ASPDB, sorry. ASP state. ASP, sir, I want to give my own name to the database. Then use custom. What you see in the place of P, what you should give? T, and you're required to tell a database name. Ignore it, not important. So just go for either a T or T. T or P, that's enough. Okay, either use a temporary or persistent. If you want to try that, simple, what you need to do is C here, then minus D, and you're required to give your database. Suppose I'm giving my database name as XYZ database. So now what happens now? It is going to create you the tables and all in the XYZ database. Array, behavior is same here. Created in ASP state database or created XYZ database, that doesn't matter for us. Are you clear? So what you're required to understand is only temporary persistent. Temporary means stores on TempDB database. Persistent means stores on ASP state database. That's what. And basically, you're required to give your connection string based on that. Yeah, watch it. SQL Server. A session mode is set as SQL Server. Then session values are stored under, and to use that, we need to create a database, a set of tables and show process. Without creating all these objects manually, we are provided with a command line tool called as ASP.NET _ RegSQL that should be used from Visual Studio developer command prompt as following. Step 1. Run the ASP.NET Reg_ tool at base developer command prompt so that required databases, tables are and stored process for maintaining the sessions will be created under SQL Server. Guys, have a look. The first one is the help minus question mark. Will show you all the list of attributes. And second one is the example. Minus S, server name. Minus U, you're ready. Minus P, password. Minus E, in case of Windows. Minus SSAD. Minus SS type. TPC. And here I given you the description for all. Yes, to specify. Minus U, to specify. You're ready. Minus P, to specify password. Minus E. And in this case, don't use minus U and minus P options again. Minus SSAD. Enable the support for SQL Server session state, and it will create a database on SQL Server. See, what is the note? Read the note. If at all you want to remove, use minus SS remove in place of SSR. SS type is to specify the type of tables we want to use, where T indicates temporary, P indicates, and C indicates custom tables. But in this case, we need to create our own database to store session data. And to specify the database name, we need to use minus D database name option in the last. Testing the process. Are given for both guys. For SQL authentication also given, Windows authentication. If you are okay with this, now remove and in the place of T, try with P. Are you clear? In the above case, we have specified SS type as T. So we're using temporary tables for storing session state values. So a new database is created on SQL server with the name ASP state. And under the database, it creates a set of stored procedures for managing the data. And because we have asked for a temporary tables are created on TempDB system database. And this database will be recreated every time we restart SQL server. If we ask for persistent tables by specifying SS type SP, then all the required tables are also created on ASP state database only. So even if we restart SQL server, also tables and their values will be persisting. Same as persisted. If we specify SS type as custom, then it will behave same as persisted only. But in this case, we need to specify the database name by using minus D database attribute. We need to use this minus D database attribute should be used, under which we want the tables and process to be created. And in this case, it will be creating, it will not create ASP state database. When you say create your own database, then it is not going to create your ASP state database again separately now. Okay. Second step, open web.config, rewrite the session state tag as following. Rewrite the session state tag as following now. How do you write? Check. Same guys, earlier mode state server, now connections. Data source is equals to write your server name, user ID, or user ID and your password. Otherwise, data source is server. For Windows authentication, what do you write? Integrated security is equals to SSPI. Indicates it is Windows. Removing the support. How to remove? Minus SS remove. No need to use SS type here. Only SS add, opposite SS remove. That's all. Are you clearer? Okay, try guys. Try with try first with persist temporary. Afterwards, try with persistent. Both the two you can try. Okay. Next. When to use state server and SQL server session modes over in proc session mode. All of you listen. When to use state server and SQL server session mode options over in proc session mode. What is that? See, basically three options are there: in proc, state server, SQL server. Default is in proc. When should I use state server? When should I use SQL server? This is a big question. What will be in our minds now? Okay. To clarify, listen. State server and SQL server session mode options are used in scenarios where a web application is running in web form or web garden architectures. So guys, remember, we use state server if multiple databases are available and you are only telling multiple databases are available now, then what is the confusion now? I don't understand. When multiple databases are there, what is the confusion? For every application, you have a separate database created. Yes or not? Then what is the confusion for you? And if you have multiple applications, then how it identifies? Maybe a question now. Multiple. Everyone has a unique session ID. When everyone has a unique session ID, if multiple applications are there, what is the problem? If multiple databases are there, what is the problem? You have a unique ID now. When you have unique ID, that confusion won't be there anywhere. You are associated with any application, not an issue. You have an ID, bring the ID. See, Naresh Technologies teaches only .NET. So many courses, but everyone has a unique ID. So based on your ID, you'll go to a .NET class or a Java class or a Python class. ID is same for all. Yes or not? You have a unique ID. Same way here also, you have a unique ID. So with that unique ID, it will only recognize. So there is no confusion for that. Yeah. So what is our question? When to use state server and SQL server session mode options? When should I use the state server and when should I use the SQL server session mode options? Okay, listen guys. We need to use the state server and SQL server session mode options when our web application is running in a web form or a web garden architecture. When our web application is running in a web form or a web garden architecture. Sir, what is this web form or a web garden architecture? Okay, I'll tell you. But if your application runs on a web form or a web garden architecture, in that scenarios, it is suggested to go for using the state server or SQL server session modes. Okay, let me clarify you. What is a web garden or a web form? First, let us talk about web form architecture. What is web form architecture? See, tomorrow, your server can become very busy. Your server can become very busy. Your site became very popular. And when your site became very popular, there are so many hits to your site. There are so many hits to your site. For example, Facebook is there. Facebook has billions of hits every second throughout the world. Yes or not? So there are so many hits. And at some point of time, when there are a huge number of clients falling on the server may not be responding. The server may not be responding. For example, the IRCTC server at morning 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, when the Tatkal reservation starts, your server won't respond to you. Yes or not? But question yourself, does IRCTC has more load than Facebook and Google? Does the IRCTC server has more load than Facebook server and Google server? But Facebook, Google server, never we face a problem. IRCTC, we are facing the problem. Yes or not? Because this Facebook, Google, Twitter, Amazon, Flipkart, all these servers will be having a load balancing mechanism basically. Will be having a load balancing mechanism. What is that load balancing? Their application won't be running on a single server. Their application will be running on multiple servers. Multiple servers means don't think like some part in one server and some part in one server. Not. The whole application will be running on multiple servers. They will have multiple servers. Suppose, let us think Facebook has 10 servers. 10 servers means the application runs on all the 10. All the 10. Now, you're balancing the load now. You're balancing the load. When the request is coming now, when the request is coming first, there will be a load balancer. There will be a load balancer. The request first comes to the load balancer. Load balancer verifies in the 10 servers who is free and will be redirecting the request to that server. Means it will be distributing the load between all now. Are you getting my point or not? It will be distributing the load between all. You see, in banking today, if at all you go to banks and all, without making people to stand in queues in the counters, we have a tokenized mechanism. You go to a bank, and you will be having a token machine. You go and press whatever you want, a deposit or whatever, a token is generated. You can go and sit in the lobby. And once you sit there, on the screen your token number comes telling you go to so and so counter. Yes or not? Mean there is a machine which is going to be the load balancer now. So when a request means one by one token is cleared, and what it does, it will send you to different tokens, the counters. There are 10 counters now, 100 people sitting now. So first person is sent to counter number 1, the second person counter number 2. Like this it distributes. Now 10% occupied the 10 counters now. Now in the fifth person completed his work in the fifth counter. Immediately the counter is assigned to token number 11 now. Yes or not? That's a load balancing mechanism. That is a load balancing mechanism. It will distribute the tickets or the tokens between the people. Are you clear? So this is called as load balancing. Basically, in the real time, the servers will be running for you, means the applications will be running for you on multiple servers. And if they run for you on multiple servers, we basically call that architecture as a web form architecture. We call that as a web form architecture. It looks like this, guys. So here, for example, the application is running on 2 web servers. Web server 1 and these are the clients now. All these clients using internet are first connecting to the load balancer is sending your request to a web server which is free. Web server 1, web server 2 will distribute the load now. It will distribute the load between the machines. Are you clearer or not? Okay, just for example, 2 servers I just represented. But going forward in the real time, 10, 20, 50 servers also will be present for Facebook, Google and all, because their load is unimaginable. Yes or not? We cannot even imagine the load on a Facebook or Google sites. Are you clearer? So that's why they have multiple servers and the load balancer will take you to the different servers to you in this context here. Clear? Now, in this context, we face a problem with in-proc session mode. We face a problem with in-proc session mode. What problem, sir? What problem is, my first request went to web server 1. My data is stored on web server 1 in-proc session mode. Are you clear? So where is it stored? On web server 1. Now, I got the response. My second request went to web server 2. Understand the problem now. Your request went to, but where is your session data? Now I cannot bring the data here now. That is a separate machine. It is a separate machine now. Yes or not? So in-proc session mode will not work here now. In-proc session mode will not be working. So to overcome the problem, what you require to do is take a separate machine, install state server or SQL Server softwares and configure these 2 machines to the third server now. So now see, this machine is your third machine where either state server or SQL server is installed. Now the request came to web server 1. The data is stored on state server. Session data is stored on state server. Second time request comes to web server 2. But web server 2 also can access the state server now. So all can access the state server now. Means your request goes to machine 1 or machine 2 or machine 3. Wherever it goes, finally everything is stored on state server or SQL server. So you won't face a problem anywhere now. You withdraw some money in ATM machine 1. Do you face any problem when you go to ATM machine 2? Changes are reflecting or not? Why? All are connected to one database. All are connected to one database server. Wherever you make the change, that reflects to the all. So what is this? That is either state server or SQL server. Any of these particular things can be present. And this is what we call as a web form architecture. Are you clear what is a web form? Open the mouth here. Okay, don't shout. Open the mouth, I said you. Not to shout. Okay, so that is the web form architecture what we have. So this is a very, very important architecture in the web application development. Going forward tomorrow in the real time, Is a very important architecture what the industry uses. If you are in a web form architecture, compulsory, you cannot use in-proc session mode. You cannot use the in-proc session mode. Either state server should be used or SQL server should be used. What is the second thing? Web garden. Web garden. What is web garden? Web garden means web garden is very simple thing here. We can see the web garden also. What is the web garden is? Nothing here. Every application pool has one worker process now. Last class, we have 4 application pools and 4 worker process running. I shown you all the 4, remember? But if you want, you can create more than one worker process in an application pool. If you want, you can create more than one worker process in an application pool. If you create like that, if an application pool has multiple worker processes, we call that architecture as a web garden architecture. Have a look, guys. Second one is not a web garden. Third one is not a web garden. First one is a web garden. Why, sir? That has 2 worker processes, see there? So it's a web garden. Is it clear or not? Understood? All these 3 are application pools only. But 2 and 3 are working in normal architecture. But one is running in a web garden architecture. What is the web garden? More than one worker process. But how, sir? How is this possible? How can I have multiple worker process here? Possible, guys. Watch. Open your IS manager. Open your IS manager. Go to your work application pools. This is my pool. Huh? How many worker processes are there? 1. I want to add 1 more. I want to have 1 more. I want to have 2 now. Okay. Right click. Advanced settings. Go for advanced settings. It opens a window. What window? Advanced setting window. And here you'll find how many are there? I'm making 3. So how many worker process I'm going to have? 3 worker process going to be present. What's it? There is an examination going on in a classroom, and every class has an invigilator. Every class has an invigilator. The class has 20-30 people, men. 1 invigilator present. The class has 50 people, and one could not manage all the students now. If the invigilator is looking at one place, there is a malpractice going on in the second place now. So that's why in that room, they have got 2 invigilators. Are you clear? Okay, looking at the paper, 2 invigilators, 3 invigilators. Like this, I can have multiple worker processes. And read the description below. Permitted to for the application pool. If the number is greater than 1, the application pool is a web garden. If the number is greater than 1, that is a web garden. So I'm just creating 3 pools, guys. 3 worker process. Click OK. And it is going to restart. Wait. Right now it is not started. Yeah. Restarted again. It got restarted. Guys, now if you run your application now, I don't promise, but there are chances because we have only 1 client now. We are only 1 client right now here. We have only 1 client here. But suppose if you have more than 1 client, if at all there is a more than 1 client here, compulsory what is going to happen is multiple worker process will be running in for you in the memory. How many? Multiple worker process will be running. Right now, because I am only 1 client here, no guarantee, guys. Let us verify. If it creates, well and good. Otherwise, we can't do anything. But when you have more clients, then compulsory, it will be 2 are created here. Oh, 3 are running. See. Are you clearer? In this scenario, first request went to first W3 WP. Second request went to problem again now. The data of one W3 WP will not be shared with. So you will not be getting the results. Now also you need to go for state server or SQL server. In a web form architecture also, as well as web garden architecture also, what is preferred option is state server or SQL server. Don't forget, guys. Read here. When to use SQL server mode server in proc test mode. The first web form. Got it? Next. Picture clear? Just change it. I change it to 3 now and I'm running the code. Is it clear, all of you? Yes or not? Okay. So that is what, how you're just going to use this. Fine, guys. So what we learned now, it is about first point, why you want to recognize. First, why you want to recognize. That is the job of the web server to recognize which your user ID belongs to which user. If you want to recognize, create your database and store your values in the database. Okay. So if it is up to a session point of view, that is the server which is going to recognize. You are not responsible to recognize that. So what is the question is, if multiple login IDs are there, how will the server know which user belongs to which application? Why you are bothered about it? That is whose job? Web server's job. Web server will do that. Are you clear? That is the job of the web server to identify, not your job. If you want, you store your data in the database. Okay. Well, guys, I will reduce this. I'll just change it. My poll, right click, advanced settings, 1. Okay. Next. The next thing is application. The next thing is application. This is the sixth one, right? View state, view bag. View data, view bag, temp data, application. This is the sixth option. What is application? Application is like session here will store on the server memory only. Application is like session where it stores you on the server memory. What is the difference? The difference is session is specific to each user. Session is specific to each user. If there are 100 users, 100 sessions will be present. Are you clear? And what did I give you a description for that? Remember, single user, global data. The data is accessible to you in all the pages, but only for one user. And now what is application is? Application also stores you the data on the server only, but it is multi-user global data. Multi-user, what is this there? Actually, application is a global memory. Application is any value stored in the application are accessible to all users on this site. Accessible to all users means it is something like public data. Anyone can access that particular information. So watch this picture to understand what is the application. Last class I shown you this one. Now. Every user has one session, right? Now come down. All users are sharing one memory. What is that? This is common for all now. User 1 stores a value in application memory. User 2, user 3, user 4 can access the data because all are sharing the same memory. So it's a global memory. It is a global memory accessible to all users. Okay, application. Yeah, this is a global storage mechanism. Understand? This is a global storage mechanism that is used to store data on the server, which is shared between all users. That is, data stored in application is accessible to all users and anywhere in the application. So what is it, multi-user global data. Session, single user global data. Application, multi-user global data. Application state is stored in the memory of the web server and is faster than storing and retrieving information from a database. Understand this point correctly. Application state is stored in the memory of the web server and is faster than storing and retrieving information from a database. What is that? See guys, actually, I want to display some products information in a shopping cart application. In a shopping cart application, I want to display some product information to all users. Whoever is the user, I want to display the products information in common. Okay, user 1 connected. When user 1 connected, I loaded the product data from the database. I loaded the product data from the database and published. User 2 connected. Again, load the data from the database and publish. Like this, 10 users are connected. 10 times I'm loading the product data from the database and publishing now. Are you clear? If the database is busy, now loading time will be loading. It will take time to load. And when it takes time to load, publishing the data also will take time now. You open the site and it is not loading now. Yes or not? To resolve this problem, what we do in the real time, whatever data is commonly published for all the people, whatever data is commonly published for all the people, in the first request, the first user connected to the server now, we will load the data and store it in the application memory. We will load the data and store it in the application memory. So that user 2 connected now. No need to go to database now. Where is the data? In the application memory. User 3 connected. Where is the data? Application memory. Means everyone from user 2 onwards, they won't connect to database. Who will connect to database? Only user 1. From user 2 onwards, all the data is loaded from the application memory only without reconnecting to the database. Are you clear? Whatever is common for all people, will always be stored in the application memory and accessible to all users at a time. Understood or not? Are you clear? Okay. So that's what application state is stored in the memory of the web server. It is faster than storing and retrieving information. Every time going to database, getting the data is a time taking. So better option, store in the application memory. Application is used in the same way as a session, but session is specific for a single user, whereas application is common for all users. Session is specific to each user. Application is common. That picture will give you a clear idea. For every user, there is one session. For all users, there is one application. For every user, one session. For all users, one application. Is it clear? Application does not have any default expiration period like session. Application memory will not have any expiration days. So when we recycle the worker process or restart the web server only, the data in the application will be lost. No timeout here. Why? Array continuously users will be connecting now and the data will be useful for all the users. So there is no timeout here. Then when the data is destroyed, you recycle the worker process or restart the server, restart your site. How to restart a site? Guys, if at all, just a minute. Just a second here. I will I removed the session state database. That's all. Okay. Yeah. Go to what happened to this? See, this is your site. This is your site. If you want to restart it, you have the option directly on the IES. Select your site, come here, restart. When you restart this or you recycle the worker process, already recycling worker process we learned in the last class. In both these two cases, the data in the application memory will be destroyed. There is no timeout for it at all. There is no timeout. Okay. So when we recycle the worker process or restart the web server only, the data in the application will be lost. Data is stored in application in a name of name value pairs only, like we store in session view data, temp data. We store data in application by using application property of HTTP context class that is defined in system.web. What is that? Till now, session, view data, view bag, temp data, all these are the properties defined in your parent class. Directly you're calling. But this property, application property, is not stored in the, is not in the parent class. It is in a different location. So how to call it, that's how you should call. System.web.http context.current.application. If it is in your parent, directly you can call application, but it's not in your parent. That is why I should call it as system.web.http context.current.application. Pass the key name. Array, the way you are storing and accessing is same only here. But all these things should be used now. System.web.http context.current. And even accessing also same code only. Return type is object. Return type is object. Storing and accessing both are same, but only referring to that is a little bit lengthy code. You need to type all these things explicitly. Are you clear? Okay, just a minute here. You will have a doubt. Sir, can't I? I'm also removing this session state mode. Is I'm back to invoke. I'm back to invoke. Look here, guys. Region. What are you learning? Application. Yeah, look here. I want to write a method. 10 is the last now. So 11. Now I want to store in a session application. Application. So application. Error C. What is the error? When do you get this error here? Namespace. When the appropriate namespace is not available. Day one you started C#, you learned about it. Your namespace is missing, you'll get the error. What is that? Does not exist in the current context. What is the namespace name? System.web.http context or .current. Actually, exactly what the namespace name is. System.web. No, HTTP context is not again. System.web is the namespace. That's all. System.web. Already system.web is there here. So basically, what the problem is? Under that system.web, we have HTTP context.current. So what is this HTTP context now? Look, guys, HTTP context. It's a property. It is a property. It is a property. Basically, the problem is the same property is present in controller also. Are you clear? The same property is present in controller also. I don't want this property, guys. What I want the property of system.web, not controller. And also, what is HTTP context? It is a property. It is a property. I don't want this. What I want, system.web.http context. And this is not a property. This is a class. This is what I want. Are you getting my point or not? You learned in your C# classes here when there's a naming collision. Prefix the namespace name explicitly. Now there is a naming conflict now. What is the naming conflict? In the controller class, listen, in the controller class, there is a property called, I don't want that property. Directly if I type HTTP context, it will refer to the controller class now. What I want the class. Which class? HTTP context class of. That is why I need to type it completely. System.web.http context.current. Under this we have the application. Understood or not? So this is one of the complex thing. Every time we need to type all these things before the application. So you cannot directly use it. Okay, na? That is how you should use it. I'm storing all the things in the application. Okay. See a small thing, understand. What is it? Application data is accessible to one user or multiple users. Accessible to multiple users. Unfortunately, there's a problem with application memory. What is the problem? The problem is it is not thread safe. It is not thread safe in the sense two or more users at a time trying to access the application data, it will give them. I am accessing, you are accessing. So what is the problem? I am accessing the data. Meanwhile, you want to manipulate the data now. Problem will happen here. I'm trying to get the data here. Meanwhile, what you're trying to do is manipulate. So how to fix it? To fix it, the concept is like one user only should be given access at a time. One user only should be given access at a time. So shouldn't I give access to multiple users? No. If I give multiple users, someone is going there, someone is disturbing. Are you getting my point or not? You're reading a newspaper. Someone comes and peeps into the newspaper. How it will be irritating to you? Yes or not? You're reading a newspaper. Someone is telling, I want to do a sports column like this and he's pulling it. It will be irritating for you. So what do you say? After I read, give it to you, you see it. Am I correct? So here also the same technique has to be followed one by one. But by default, that is not thread safe. Multiple people can access at the same time. To resolve the problem, whenever you're storing values in a application, whenever you're storing a values in application or accessing the values in the application, you're required to call these two methods. What is the first method? Then second method is unlock. You're required to call the lock and unlock. Every time, this is mandatory. Today, you're only storing the data. Tomorrow, you're accessing also. We need to call this lock and unlock methods. Are you clearer how to use the application now? This is what. Okay. And now I'm redirecting. No, this is not redirect to action. This is simply view result. And I am going to a view, that's all. View. Now add a view for this now, guys. Right click, add view. Add a view. And you guys observe this one once. This view is again launching. The URL changed, see now. Not simply /home/index. Now it is because we hosted on till our last example, it is simply /home/. But now onwards, until and unless you put that, the code won't work. Be careful because you're running on. If you want to resolve the problem, again back to IIS Express. Come up back to IIS Express. But because I'm running on IIS, I just added that also for you there. Okay. So it will call you what? Index 12. Means you're required to write an index 12 method also in the code now. Come on, guys. Public view result index 12 return view. It's also returning. So add a view for this also. Right click, add view. Again, same code here. From here, I'm redirecting to off test controller. Redirecting to index 4 of test controller. What to do? Go to test controller, write down public view result index 4. Written, written view. Again, write a view, add a view. Paste the same code. Any number of pages you can access these values here, no problem. Any number of pages you can access this thing now. There is no problem at all. Are you clear? Which one to run now? Which one should I run? 11, index 11 of home controller. Okay, come on. Home controller, index 11. We'll launch you index 11 only. On the click of this, it will go to index 12. Home controller index 12C. On the click of this, it will go to launching wait. Index 4. Okay. You want to understand what is multi-user global data? Open a different browser. Open a different browser. Directly hit what? Index 4 of test controller. Got it, see. Multi-user global data. Are any machine you open now, it'll access now. Why? Values are stored on application memory. All pages and all users can access the data. From anywhere, you can pick out the data. But the same thing I shown you last class with the session, remember? When I open a new browser, I did not get the data. Why? That is single user, but it is multi-user. Open a new browser, you got access. You try from other systems also, you will get it up, provided you're in a network. Understood my point? Okay, so this is what application is. So remember guys, application and session are similar. Both are stored on server. One is single user global data. Second one is multi-user global data. Other than that, session and application are same. Okay, let's stop here guys. We'll discuss tomorrow.
Recording stopped.